I think patience, really. Sometimes you get so excited, and, you fall in love with certain deals and sometimes they're not meant to be. You
Yeah.
have to be patient, vet something thoroughly, because if you don't and you don't plan for something, you know, it's probably going to pop up on your project, and you can't go to investors and be like, "Hey, I wasn't ready for that. Oops, I'm sorry." No, you have to have a contingency plan.
Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Pros podcast. I'm Kristen, and I'm here with Anthony Morena, who is the founder and principal of Mortar Group, a New York-based real estate development and investment firm. I'm excited to get into everything surrounding, the development world in New York. So thanks for being here, Anthony.
No, thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
So you have a pretty interesting background. You started as an architect. Tell us about kind of your background and how you got to this point.
Sure. Well, it's been a long road. I started back in 2001 in development. I graduated architecture school in late 90s, started working for a couple of architecture firms, and very quickly kind of realized that the long-term path in architecture wasn't for me. I wanted more control over projects. The architects tend to get beat up a little bit by everyone else in the development world. And I was like, okay, I want to have more control over it. So I started kind of this slow path of kind of shifting into development those first early years. Went to go work for other architects who were developers to learn a little bit how the business works, and get a sense of how to build a business model that can be sustainable kind of over time. And that was kind of the key piece. And then, did a project kind of on weekends and at night while I was still at one of these firms. That was kind of my first development project that took a very long time to kind of finish, just because I didn't know what I was doing. I thought I did, but I had no idea. And that was the first one. It finished. It went well. And kind of it worked from there. So you start one, then you do two, and then you do four. And it's kind of this slow kind of process. But the original idea was just, try to have control of a deal, and find something that could be a business model that can be sustainable for, decades.
Yeah.
That's been the course, you refine it over the years to make it a little bit better, but it's worked out well.
Amazing. And I think you highlighted something interesting where, you had mentors or people you were working under and you learned a lot, but it really does take doing it to really understand the business. I would love for you to talk a little bit more about that.
Sure.
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
Yeah, it's, back then, there wasn't as much information as there is now, but you can read everything you want under the sun and read all the textbooks and all the articles in the post, but ultimately you got to do it, and try it out and figure out how to take, the concepts to reality and execute it. I learned a lot working under these other developers, how an architect can use his skills to really provide a different perspective in development in real estate. How to use a technical background to be more efficient and bring value to a project in comparison to your traditional development firm. So I tried to find a niche that I can build out of and create value that way for investors. And it's been refined over the years, but that was ultimately the goal. And just try to, build more of what, and ultimately have control and do more of what you want to do. Architecturally, you want to have do stuff that's interesting. That kind of guides a lot of our work as well. And I think some investors appreciate it. And, the people we have in our buildings as tenants or as residents that buy condominiums, I think they appreciate it a little more.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you kind of got more into the development world, when did you start thinking about doing Mortar Group and bringing other investors in?
It started, so the first deal was kind of friends and family, couple of people that had some faith in me. I put all my money, every last dime I had, into that first project. And then I did a few more kind of like that, smaller ones. And then we were like, okay, let's see if there's other people that are interested. And at the time, there was no online presence for anyone really. So you're kind of going friends and family, expanding in New York, locally. And, you go from 2 investors to 10. You finish project, it goes well, people were happy. Then it kind of goes to like 20. And it's like this slow period over, 1 to 2 years every cycle when you're finishing projects. And then now over the last, 5 years, as there's so much information online with real estate or investing or alternative investments in general, it's kind of taken off. So we started with 2-3 investors. So now we're up to 500 active investors in our stuff. And it's nice the way it's kind of grown over the years. Because we deal with individual investors, it's a much more personable relationship. So you get to know people, what they're looking for, and we can because we're kind of a boutique firm, we can kind of shift and do different deals depending on what investors are actually looking for. Yeah, it's kind of been a slow growth over the years. You have to take it piece by piece. You throw some market declines in the course of 25 years, it slows you down. But you learn from those parts as well. 2008, with lean and everything else, was a nice slap in the back of the head of you learn quick and you figure out what not to do or what to plan for the next round. And then you have COVID and you have all this kind of thing. So it's all good.
Yeah. You said you kind of shift or you're a little agile based on what your investors are looking for. What are you finding right now? What are people really looking to invest in?
So, I think, for New York, but I think across the country in general, commercial real estate has had a 3-year recession. A lot of the markets have been hit pretty bad for a variety of different reasons, rates being predominant, the predominant cause, but then you also have this kind of post-COVID thing. And I think now a lot of investors they're looking for shorter term investments where, people are less apt to want to commit to a 5 or 10-year fund and all the fees that are associated with that and the unknowns of where will politics, markets be in that amount of time. So we've kind of geared our stuff towards, 36-month projects where from the moment someone invests in a project or we start, money is returned, projects are completed in less than 3 years. So that gives you kind of a little bit more stability to what's happening in the market, and you can do some estimates, but it's only for the short term. You don't have to project out 5 to 10 years. And I think a lot of investors like that. I think they like the tax advantages of that with depreciating assets, and all all the elements that come along with that. But in New York, I think it works well, and especially when you have a kind of a pent up demand that's been building, in basically the last couple of years, which I think is starting to crack, and you're starting to see some interest, in the markets where they've been really quiet for a while. So yeah, no, I think we're excited to kind of really jump in and kind of see where 26 and 27 go.
Yeah. Talking about the New York market in general, you kind of touched on where it's at right now, but yeah, what are you seeing and where do you think it's going to go?
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency. It's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
I think, rental market is really strong. It's been strong for the last couple of years. And that's continuing to move upwards and to the right. It's not at the same level or speed, but it's a steady growth. The sales market on the condo side has been quiet for a couple of years, especially after rates shot up in 22. But with that, not a lot of new product has come to market. We do work predominantly in Manhattan, Brooklyn, and Queens in New York. So those areas have a pretty low inventory because no one's been doing much building because rates are so high and the land prices were out of alignment. So I think now as rates start to come down, you're going to start to see more active buyers come to the market. And, with the lack of inventory, it sends prices up, but it also increases interest, which makes it easier to sell out a project faster. So it's more kind of that velocity. The flip side of it is that because there was low inventory on the condo side, it also strengthened the rental side. The rental market kind of went up even faster initially because people weren't buying. They were just renting and holding for a couple of years to wait for rates to kind of settle down a bit before they can make their purchase. So they've kind of worked hand in hand. And I think we're doing a lot of kind of condo development we try to shoot for neighborhoods that are really established, that people are moving to, where there's jobs, there's transportation, in the New York market. So I think there's a lot of kind of pent up demand that is starting to kind of come around. And I think as rates begin to decline, if we have to guess over the next 6 to 9 months, I think once you hit under a 6% mortgage rate and you kind of head into the fives, I don't think we're going to go back to where we were 5 years ago. But once they start to delve below 6, I think you're going to see a lot of activity in New York and probably across the country.
Yeah. I mean, and there's just so much always going on and changing and shifting. So it really helps to have someone like you who's been in this for, 25 years and seen the ups and downs and can really, gauge the market. So maybe other
Yeah.
people don't. Yeah.
Yeah, you try to, it kind of all happened by accident over the years. I kind of stuck to investing in New York because I felt most comfortable here because I knew the technical side, the zoning laws. I knew how to operate. If I have a problem, I know which contractor to call, which consultant to call. It was just, it's a nice group that we've established here. And then, even during COVID, we started to look, it's like, oh, should we invest in the South? Should we go to Florida? But I wasn't comfortable looking up buildings in neighborhoods I knew nothing about, through Google Earth. So I stuck to New York, and ultimately now it's like we've done so much in the area. You kind of know each neighborhood like the back of your hand, and the prices, the comps, what's worked, what hasn't. So it really kind of helps you navigate quickly. Like a lot of the deals that we see are off market or not well advertised, because usually if something's coming to market, we'll have a broker that's just known us for 20 years and they know that we'll close on a deal. They'll share it with us before they bring it to market. It's like, hey, this is going to market next week, but hey, I want you to take a look at it, see if you're interested. And usually we can decide within 24 hours if we're going to do it or not. So I think a lot of people kind of appreciate that, and it just kind of keeps the momentum rolling for what we do.
Totally. And what types of investors do you work with?
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
So Over the years, we, from after friends and family and building out this group, it's mostly high net worth investors, white collar professionals that, sometimes are just new to real estate, trying it out, want to put a toe in the water, see what it's like. And then it's more established investors that are high income, individuals that are looking to diversify, whether they're trying to generate just general income or passive income, secondary to their W-2 or whatever they're doing full time, or they're trying to offset gains on, other assets, or they're doing it for retirement or a longer term play. So you've got a lot of different people, with different strategies or tax strategies. But it's mostly individuals. We don't work with institutional capital. We tend to stay smaller. In general, we're a small to mid cap developer. The types of deals that we do are usually, I would say, 5 to 40 units per building. The deal sizes range from, I would probably say, 5 million to 30. So that lends itself well to smaller groups that, where they can kind of see the kind of work that we're doing. So we also do kind of project by project offerings. We don't do funds, especially with the speed that we're moving, where you have an investment that's kind of ending in 3 years. It's usually deal specific. So we'll send out something to our investor groups. Hey, we just locked this place up in contract. Who's interested in potentially participating? And you go from there, and you kind of the group has kind of grown over the years. But we've found that to be interesting. Where I think investors like being able to look at a property, know the neighborhood, whether they're from New York or not, they can just kind of see what it is, what's going on. And if they have questions, we can walk them through it. Yeah, it's worked well, and it's gotten a good response.
Yeah. So what would be the split of people living in New York and people investing out of state?
So it used to be 100% New York. And now New York is maybe 20%. I think
Wow.
over the years, it's shifted, where we've met a lot of people across the country. And yeah, they'll rely on us kind of for our expertise in the neighborhood, and especially in New York. And I think after some people do a project with us, they get a sense of how we work. It makes it a little bit more comfortable, and they share it with someone else. So we've kind of spread out across the country, which has been great, because then you also start to learn about other markets. You start to see what other people are doing, what they're investing in. Because it's just more just educational for us as far as what's interesting out there, what's changing. You're always trying to find something different, a new angle. What worked in one city, can we do the same thing here? What didn't work? So you're always trying to learn a little bit here and there, and get better ultimately.
Definitely. I think a lot of people probably look at your business and it's so impressive and, maybe aspirational to people. Can you talk about the realities of running a business like this and kind of the role that, like, having to do a bunch of different things, not necessarily, just the architecture, the development?
Yeah, it can be very stressful at times, but it could be exhilarating. I think in general with real estate, and I didn't know this when I was getting into it. You kind of, you figure it out as you go, but you have to learn a lot of different aspects of just a development process. I came in with an architecture background, but then I quickly had to learn finance. Back then they didn't teach you how to use Microsoft Excel or Google Sheets. It didn't exist. So they didn't teach you how to use Excel in architecture school. So that was the first thing. It's like, how do you come up with a return on capital, IRR formulas, and pro formas? So is that, and then you have to learn the legal side. You've got to learn the construction side. You got to learn how to deal with investors and work with them and make investors comfortable. Documentation. Then it's the accounting. It's like, how do you structure these things well that they work for different investors depending on what they're doing? And every development has 1,000 headaches that will pop up during the process. In the beginning, the pro forma looks great. Everyone's really excited. And then at the end, you always hope it works well, and you try to meet your original marks. But there's a lot of kind of turbulence in the middle. And it's just a matter of being able to put the right hat on at the right time to kind of to address things as they come up. We do a lot of ground up construction, and ground up construction is very, hard to predict what's going to happen in certain phases of the project. So you're always assessing risk. I think I'm a risk manager now more than anything. You're trying, when you're looking at deals, it's like, okay, does this deal make sense? Can we get this done in 30 months? What are our potential obstacles? And then you try to get all that information, those questions answered before you ever close on the asset or before you start to commit any capital to it. But now we've gotten to the point where we could do it pretty quickly. But you learn the hard way sometimes. You dig a foundation and you hit something you weren't planning for, and it's like, oh, okay, what do you do with that? And you've got to go through the process, and I think it takes time, to kind of figure it out. But yeah, you need to wear a lot of different hats, and you need to be ready for things. You need to be nimble and shift as things come up, because the clock's running, the interest meter for the bank loan is running. You gotta move. You can't sit, and yeah, you got to be ready.
Totally. I think that's really good advice. To kind of wrap this up, what would be a piece of advice that, you've learned throughout your career that you wish you learned earlier?
What is a piece of advice? It's a good question. I think patience, really. Sometimes you get so excited, and you fall in love with certain deals, and sometimes they're not meant to be. You have to be patient, vet something thoroughly, because if you don't, and you don't plan for something, it's probably going to pop up on your project, and you can't go to investors and be like, "Hey, I wasn't ready for that. Oops, I'm sorry." No, you have to have a contingency plan. If you dig a hole for a foundation and you hit water, what's your plan? And you have to build in project contingencies. And, I think even going through like Lehman and like even September 11th was kind of at the early start of my career, you have to build in healthy contingencies, and you have to have good margins where if you have to cut prices because of external events, you have to test your projects. As much as you might love it and you think it's going to go great, stress it, and then stress it again, and then stress it a different way. You're not going to be able to catch all of the variables, but you can try to be as aware as you can. There's some things you can't forecast. You can't time the market. You do your best, and you try to do you put your educated kind of assumptions together as best you can.
Yeah. And developing that comfort in uncomfortable situations.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think over the years, the more you do it, you just get more confident and you get more comfortable, and for the most part, what are going to be your issues. Now, granted, 5-6 years ago, no one would have predicted a pandemic. But now people plan for that. The interest rate spike, stuff that we started in 2020, 2021, rates tripled, on construction loans in that time. That wasn't planned for. So you've got to try to adjust as best you can. And the other thing is, I think I would tell people is that when you're doing real estate for a long time and you're doing a lot of work, so this year we're kind of hitting our 40th project. So we've done quite a bit in a lot of different cycles, and not everything is going to go as planned. You're gonna have some that don't go as planned, and that's just if you do enough, not everything's going to go great. Most will, and you can do really well, but you got to plan for the unexpected times. It's just the nature of the business. We're shooting for high teens, low 20% returns for investors, so it comes with risk, and investors need to, or just new real estate sponsors or developers need to understand that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, I think that's a great note to end on. Tell people where to find you and how to find Mortar Group and work with you.
Sure. So, you can visit our website at mortargroup.com, shoot us an email at info@mortargroup.com, or any social media, we're available. We're a small shop, so shoot us a note. Myself or one of our investment relation team will be able to reach out and, answer any questions you have about what we do or just, the market in general.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being
Cool.
here, Anthony.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Awesome. And thank you, everybody, for listening. Hope you got some inspiration for your own business, learned a lot, and we will see you back next time.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.